Tom Jordan and Kevin Dietz are all talk. 760 WJR.
Donald Trump's New York criminal trial date relating to hush money payments to a couple of women. Well, the trial date has been announced. It's March 25th of next year. It's 3 weeks after Super Tuesday in the heat of the presidential primary season. So he cannot campaign while this presidential candidate sits in a Manhattan courtroom going through the trial. And gosh, Kevin, it's almost as if it was all planned to fall right smack dab in the thick of campaign time.
They better be careful. They better be careful. We don't know if this is going to make independents run away from Donald Trump or if it's going to make more Trump supporters make sure they get out the vote and get more dug in. And it could make independents so outraged by the get Trump attitude that they may say, you know what, we're gonna vote for this guy. We'll have to see how this plays out. A lot of political intrigue with the decision. Let's bring in Dave Dulio, Oakland University. Good morning, David. How are you?
Well, guys, good morning. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I appreciate you being here. I don't know if this timing is a coincidence or not, but it's going to be interesting. What kind of things would you bring up to students at Oakland University when talking about this?
Well, I think whether it's a coincidence or not is an interesting question. But I think that no doubt, if I were talking to students or anybody about this today, I'd tell them that it's going to have a huge impact. And it is likely going to help Donald Trump. And I say that because as you mentioned, this trial will start after Super Tuesday, or a point at which in the nomination fight, a significant number of delegates to the national convention are going to have already been decided. And Trump is going to use this through those early primary states and hammer home that they're trying to get me. It's a witch hunt. And that's just going to rally his supporters.
When I hear Donald Trump say it's a witch hunt, they're out to get me, it hasn't impacted me personally that much. But then when I see them going after him, dragging him into court, charging him, indicting him, raiding his house, it makes me think, hey, is the DOJ politicized? It's almost like those actions are legitimizing what Donald Trump has been saying for me. Is that something that lots of people might be feeling?
I'm not sure it's lots, but it's not zero. Let's put it that way, right? I mean, I think that there are a number of people who probably have that same thought process. And when you layer on top of that the recent report, the Durham report about the FBI and what seems like a politically motivated investigation there in 2016, it just adds fuel to the fire, and Trump is going to again, just use all of that to his advantage.
So the judge in this case issues this protective order against Trump, so he cannot share evidence on social media, for example. He cannot speak openly about the evidence in this case. But his political opponents probably can, right? So isn't that a negative against Donald Trump, if that's the case?
Well, it certainly would seem that it would put him at a disadvantage. However, I think that he also has allies out there, just like he has detractors, right? And those allies are not forbidden from sharing information. So I think that let's put it this way: I think his message is going to get out no matter what.
Donald Trump, he seems to consider his biggest contender to be Ron DeSantis, who's going to announce his presidential candidacy later today. On Twitter, Donald Trump, he's spending millions of dollars on ads against Ron DeSantis, but is DeSantis really Donald Trump's biggest concern, do you think? Is it more these court cases? I know you're kind of on the opinion that these court cases might help Donald Trump, and they might, but it's also a pretty significant risk, the more that these come out, aren't they?
Well, I think the bigger risk for Trump is in the general election, should he make it through the Republican primary. I think at that point, if he is still under investigation, on trial, or if anything has wrapped up and found against him, much like the sexual abuse case that just wrapped up, I think that those kinds of things are going to continue to drive independent voters, moderate voters, folks that are looking for some normalcy out of American politics these days. They're going to continue to drive them away from him. So I think that, Tom, you got a point that those are a real problem for Trump. But in the general, I think DeSantis is his biggest threat to the nomination over the next year or so.
On social media, the anti-Trump folks are loud and proud. They're out there tweeting, he was found liable for sexual assault. If he gets convicted in this case or any of the others, they will point that out as well. I can visualize the commercials now for the general election. They will be absolutely wild. Will they scare voters away from Trump? Will people just say, oh my gosh, I don't think I can do 4 more years of this chaos?
If Trump is going, if he gets through the primary, which is no guarantee, I mean, he's probably the odds-on favorite, but it's not a done deal, right? But if he advances to the general election and runs against Joe Biden, Kevin, you're right. Those ads are already made, and they're just waiting to be unleashed. And I think in places, what Donald Trump needs to do in the general is get back some of the voters that he lost from 2016. And many of them are in places like Oakland County or Kent County on the other side of the state, where it's sort of suburbia. It's the to use a phrase from a couple campaign cycles ago, the soccer moms, right? Mm-hmm. And they have fled Trump. And these kinds of cases and rulings aren't doing him any favors to bring them back.
It's just interesting, the trial date that's been set of March 25th. In an election year, because you're looking back to 2020, it was March of 2020 with the COVID situation really ramped up, and Donald Trump was specifically being blamed at that time for this global pandemic right at the same period of time in an election year. And I'm with you. I don't think that the Democrats really care if he wins the primary. I think they want him to. It's the general election. It did not go well for him in 2020 in the general, with all these accusations that he was to blame for COVID. That might be the same. Is this the new COVID, is what I'm trying to say? These investigations in a general election for 2024.
Well, I think you're going to see it in a similar way, right? It'll be a constant drumbeat of an attack against the former president, should he be competing in that general election. And it's smart politics by his opponents, right? They're going to find the most damaging information, the most damaging message that hurts him, and they're just going to keep hammering away at it.
You may have something new to teach your students next cycle, the orange jumpsuit effect. Can he run and win from inside a jail cell?
Story. I think that's the odds are long on that one.
Okay. What about this real quick? We have a few, we got about a minute left here. Can you talk about the primary for the Republican Party in Michigan? Because I know that the Democrats want to move it up until February. I think Eric Nesbitt, the senator, he wants to negotiate, at least bring it into March 2nd, not February 27th, because that will allow the Republicans in the state to hold on to 85% of their delegates instead of losing the 85%. You think that's feasible, that negotiation will occur?
I don't. I think that the Democrats are going to say, we've passed a law that says, and the governor has signed this into effect, making it the 27th of February, and that's it. And I think Republicans are kind of stuck now with that date, or which would be a violation, as you mentioned, Tom, a violation of the national party rules, which is kind of a pickle for the state GOP.
Do you think Trump's going to have to debate with all this stuff that's going on now? He said he didn't want to, but
I think he will. I think he will appear on a debate stage at some point, but I doubt that you'll see him at all of them.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. All right, always appreciate your perspective on this. The great Dave Duilio, director of the Center for Civic Engagement and Political Science professor at Oakland University. Good to talk to you, Dave. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Have a good day.
You too. And we'll take your calls coming up next, and texts, if we can get to them, at 800-859-0957.